There is a power. Few recognize, yet nearly everyone underestimates. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention with the clamor of action or the echo of words. And yet, in the spaces between speech, in the pause that lingers longer than expected, it resides silence. But not the kind of silence born from uncertainty or hesitation. This is a deliberate, measured, and profoundly strategic. Silence, the kind that communicates more than any flood of words ever could. Some call it intimidating, others call it elegant. You will learn to call it deliberate. Consider the moments in life where words fail. Perhaps it is a negotiation, where every phrase has been exhausted, and yet the room buzzes with unspoken tension. Perhaps it is a personal confrontation, where feelings run high and words threaten to betray your intent. In those moments, most people instinctively rush to fill the void. They speak to assert, to clarify, to respond. They believe silence is weakness. They are mistaken. Silence, wielded intentionally, shifts the gravity of interaction. It allows the other person to project, to reflect, to reveal. And in this reflection, insight emerges not through dominance, but through presence. We often equate action with influence. The louder we are, the more we believe we are heard, but influence is not measured by volume. It is measured by attention, by perception, by the way our presence and sometimes our absence reshapes the space around us. Silence is not passive. It is not indecision. It is an active choice, a tool for clarity and control, not over others, but over the dynamics of communication itself. The person who understands this does not need to argue louder. They simply wait. And the waiting, the calm observance, communicates volumes. Think of the last time someone truly listened to you without interrupting, without imposing, without directing the conversation. How rare was it, and yet how powerful it felt. Silence demands that kind of focus. When you employ silence strategically, you are not simply withholding speech, you are creating a mirror. The other party confronts themselves. In that mirror, not through coercion, but through reflection. And reflection has a gravity that words rarely carry. This is not about manipulation. Do not mistake the quiet for deceit. The art of silence is rooted in ethical clarity. It is rooted in self-discipline. In moments where impulsive reactions cloud judgment, silence is the stabilizer. In conversations where emotions threaten to hijack reason, silence is the anchor. And in spaces where understanding is contested, silence becomes the lens through which others may see what words often obscure. Consider the psychological weight of a pause. Neuroscience tells us that when a person speaks and is met with silence, their brain begins to fill the void. They revisit their own words, reconsider their assumptions, adjust their statements. This is not coercion, it is natural human processing. And as someone who wields silence, intentionally you are not controlling their thoughts. You are simply creating a space where their mind is more likely to operate consciously, to evaluate, to confront. Yet this power is not intuitive. Or most people fear silence because it exposes them to discomfort. They mistake discomfort for failure. They misinterpret reflection for weakness. But the individual who embraces silence understands that discomfort is a catalyst. It is the space where self-awareness can surface, where emotional reactivity can soften, where clarity can take root. In silence, insight grows, and insight, more than words, shapes outcomes. There is also a social elegance to silence. Consider a room of conversation where multiple voices compete for attention. The loudest are heard first, but they are seldom the most remembered. the one who interjects only when necessary, who speaks with precision, after observation, commands a subtle authority. This authority is not intimidation. It is respect earned by discipline, by presence, by the restraint to listen first. Silence is not a void. It is a form of density. It gives weight to what comes after it, and it makes the environment lean toward comprehension rather than distraction. Silence is also a mirror to yourself. In a world obsessed with constant expression, the ability to refrain is a rare skill. It teaches patience, emotional regulation, and situational awareness. When you resist the impulse to respond immediately, you observe patterns you would otherwise miss. You detect emotional undercurrents. You note habitual behaviors. You perceive subtle cues that words cannot express. And in doing so, you equip yourself with a form of insight that speech alone seldom affords. The art of weaponized silence begins with the recognition that you do not need to fill every moment with words to be effective. Words have power. Yes, but indiscriminate words dilute impact. Silence, when measured and intentional, amplifies presence. It communicates confidence, composure, and awareness. It signals that you are in command not through aggression, but through discernment. Others will interpret your calm not as passivity, but as intentionality. And intention, when consistent, exerts influence without confrontation. The strategic pause is a subset of this art. It is not merely waiting, it is timing speech to achieve maximum clarity. It is noticing the emotional temperature of an interaction and choosing when to contribute. It is recognizing that the mind processes moments of stillness differently than moments of noise. In business, in personal relationships, in leadership, the pause often dictates outcome more than the immediacy of speech. Consider it the hinge upon which conversation swings. Too short and meaning is lost. Too long and opportunity slips. Mastery lies in balance. Even more profound is the effect of silence on perception. Human beings instinctively assign value to absence. The things we cannot immediately access, the messages we do not receive at once, tend to gain significance. Silence is a subtle amplifier of presence. It conveys confidence because it is calm. Where others are frantic, it conveys awareness because it is deliberate. Where others are reactive, it conveys composure because it is measured. Where others are impulsive. Through silence, you shape perception, ethically enhancing clarity, not coercion. And yet silence is not uniform. There is a difference between oppressive silence and intentional silence. One isolates, the other illuminates. One creates anxiety, the other cultivates attention. One suppresses understanding, the other invites reflection. The art of weaponized silence is the conscious choice of the latter. Illumination, attention, reflection. It is the disciplined application of stillness in moments that matter, where measured presence outweighs uncontrolled expression. As you move through this audiobook, you will discover how silence can transform not only interactions with others, but your internal dialogue as well. You will explore scenarios in negotiation, conflict resolution, leadership, and personal relationships. You will uncover psychological mechanisms that explain why silence resonates. You will encounter practical methods to implement pause, timing, and deliberate quiet in daily life. And most importantly, you will recognize that this is not a trick, a tactic, or a manipulation. It is a mastery of your own presence, a refinement of attention, and a cultivation of awareness. Silence, wielded ethically, becomes a lens through which others perceive clarity, composure, and strategic insight. It is a subtle force that reshapes dynamics without aggression, that conveys depth without verbosity, that signals confidence without arrogance. It is a quiet authority that resonates more profoundly than any volume of speech. The journey ahead is not about learning to withhold words out of fear or deception. It is about learning to deploy silence with intention, discipline, and ethical awareness. It is about understanding that in the spaces between words, in the pauses and the measured stillness, resides a form of influence that is both profound and universally applicable. By the end of this audiobook, you will not simply understand silence. You will feel it, sense it, and integrate it. You will discover that power does not always speak. Sometimes it waits. Sometimes it observes. And sometimes it listens in a way that makes every word that follows carry weight. Welcome to the art of weaponized silence. Your voice is powerful, your presence is potent, but your quiet, your deliberate, controlled, and ethical silence may very well be the most influential tool you ever cultivate. Understanding the power of deliberate silence, there is a misconception that power is only found in action, in speech, in the visible exertion of will. Society conditions us to equate motion with progress, verbosity with authority, reaction with capability. Yet the individuals who shape outcomes, those who are remembered, and those who influence decisions understand a subtler dimension. They recognize that influence often flows more from what is withheld than what is spoken. The mastery of silence begins here in the conscious acknowledgement that restraint can amplify impact. Imagine two people in a conversation. One speaks rapidly, interjecting. At every opportunity, trying to fill the space with logic, persuasion, and energy. The other listens, weighing each word, allowing moments to stretch, letting thoughts settle before responding. Observers often notice the first, loud, confident, present. But it is the second who commands the room, not through volume, but through the careful orchestration of presence. This is the distinction between noise and influence, between impulsive speech and deliberate communication. Silence is not passive, it is intentional. It is a tool that signals awareness, observation, and control over one's own responses. Deliberate silence requires self-discipline. Most people react first and think later. Their mouths open before their minds have fully processed the dynamics of interaction. The habit of immediate response is often reinforced culturally. Quick wit is celebrated, fast answers are rewarded, but this comes at a cost. Reactivity erodes presence, it dilutes authority, it diminishes the chance for considered influence. In contrast, the person who masters silence cultivates mental space between stimulus and response. That space is where insight resides. That space allows judgment to clarify, emotions to stabilize, and perception to sharpen. The psychological mechanisms behind silence are powerful. When someone speaks and is met with a pause, the brain instinctively searches for meaning. Humans are wired to interpret gaps, to fill voids, to make sense of pauses. The deliberate quiet compels reflection. The other person begins to reassess their words, intentions, and even assumptions. Importantly, this is not coercion. It is an ethical leverage of natural cognitive processes. By creating a space for contemplation, you increase the likelihood that your presence will be interpreted as thoughtful, composed, and insightful. Silence also functions as a mirror. In social interactions, we often reveal more than we intend, unconsciously projecting our emotions, fears, and desires. The individual who listens without immediate interruption allows these projections to surface. In doing so, they gain clarity about the other party's motivations, needs, and tendencies. Again, this is not a form of manipulation. It is heightened awareness. It is the ethical practice of perceiving human behavior more accurately without injecting bias or distortion. Timing is central to the art of weaponized silence. Pauses are not random, they are measured, they are calibrated to the situation, to the emotional climate, to the rhythm of conversation. A well-placed pause can emphasize a point, redirect attention, or invite introspection. Conversely, silence without timing risks confusion or misinterpretation. Mastery lies in learning to gauge when stillness will illuminate and when speech is necessary to maintain clarity. The deliberate pause is a strategic tool, a silent punctuation that enhances meaning. Emotional regulation is an essential component of this practice. Silence is not effective if it is a product of anger, fear, or frustration. Impulsive silence, refusal to communicate out of spite, discomfort, or avoidance, does not build influence. It creates tension, erodes trust, and often signals disengagement rather than awareness. The artful, silent individual maintains calm, monitors internal reactions, and chooses moments of stillness deliberately. The quiet becomes an extension of emotional intelligence, a sign that composure, not aggression, governs the interaction. We can see this in leadership. Leaders are often judged not only by what they say but by what they withhold. The executive who interrupts constantly risks undermining credibility. The manager who pauses, considers, and responds with precision conveys confidence without hostility. In negotiation, silence can create space for the other party to reflect, often leading to concessions or clarifications they might not have articulated otherwise. Importantly, this is not manipulation, it is shaping conditions where clarity and understanding are more likely to emerge. The social dimension of silence is equally profound. Humans are social creatures, wired for connection and reciprocity. Silence can create a magnetic presence, precisely because it deviates from expectation. When everyone else talks, the one who listens and responds selectively is noticed. When interactions are dominated by noise, calm stillness stands out. It signals composure, deliberation, and self-possession. Others intuitively recognize that a person who does not rush to speak possesses a form of internal authority, an authority that is ethical, respected, and influential. Another dimension is self-reflection, or silence is not only a tool for observing others, it is a mechanism for observing oneself. When we refrain from immediate speech, we engage with our internal dialogue. We evaluate our motivations, emotional state, and intentions before expressing them externally. This internal calibration improves self-awareness, reduces reactive behavior, and strengthens the consistency of presence. The individual who masters silence becomes someone whose words are fewer but carry more weight, whose decisions are less impulsive but more precise. Consider the subtle art of listening without interruption. It is deceptively simple, yet profoundly challenging. Most people listen to respond, not to understand. They prepare their own answers, while the other person speaks, missing nuances, emotional cues, and deeper meaning. The silent listener, however, he absorbs fully. They notice shifts in tone, pauses between words, and patterns of emphasis. They perceive emotion behind statements, detect hesitation or certainty, and observe context that would otherwise be lost. Listening becomes an active, disciplined exercise of perception. Silence can also serve as a stabilizing force. In conflict, when arguments escalate, words often inflame. The individual who maintains deliberate quiet does not contribute to chaos. Instead, they anchor the interaction with presence, allowing tempers to cool and reasoning to reassert itself. The absence of impulsive speech creates breathing room, both physically and emotionally, fostering conditions where dialogue is more likely to be constructive. It is critical to differentiate between passive withdrawal and active silence. Passive withdrawal, ignoring, avoiding, or disengaging, does not exert influence. It often signals disinterest or weakness. Active silence, however, is intentional. It is responsive to the dynamics of interaction. It communicates without needing to dominate. It is rooted in clarity, restraint, and ethical observation. The power emerges not from absence alone, but from the deliberate orchestration of presence through stillness. Silence also enhances perception in sequential interactions, when one maintains measured quiet. In early phases of communication, it creates a reservoir of attention that can be strategically deployed later. Words spoken after. Periods of reflection are received with greater weight and credibility. In this sense, silence is cumulative. It builds depth, context, and anticipation, making each subsequent word more impactful. Ultimately, but the first lesson of weaponized silence is this: power is not always expressed outwardly, it is cultivated internally and projected subtly. It is a function of discipline, emotional control, and awareness of context. When applied ethically, it does not coerce or dominate, it invites understanding, attention, and respect. It transforms interaction from noise-filled reaction into deliberate engagement. And as mastery develops, the individual discovers that silence itself can communicate more clearly than any volume of speech. In your personal life, the ability to remain silent strategically fosters richer relationships. Others feel heard, understood, and valued when you listen fully. It reduces conflict, promotes empathy, and enhances mutual respect. In professional context, deliberate silence can improve negotiation outcomes, key decision-making processes, and leadership perception. It is a tool of clarity rather than control, influence rather than coercion, and yet silence demands courage. To withhold speech in a culture obsessed with expression is counterintuitive. It challenges habitual reactions, impatience, and fear of judgment. The individual who persists develops resilience, the ability to tolerate discomfort while maintaining composure. This resilience itself becomes a form of authority, recognized intuitively by others. Through silence, you project calm, discipline, and ethical presence simultaneously. The transformative effect is subtle but profound. Silence shapes perception, sharpens observation, stabilizes emotion, and amplifies influence ethically. It does not replace communication, it enhances it. It does not manipulate, it clarifies. And it does not dominate through force, it persuades through presence, awareness, and restraint. By embracing deliberate silence, you begin to operate within a higher dimension of interaction. Your words gain weight. Your attention becomes visible. Your presence, even in stillness, exerts influence without confrontation. This is the foundation of weaponized silence, a mastery of self and environment, a refinement of perception, and an ethical expansion of communicative capacity. This section has laid the groundwork for understanding the mechanisms, principles, and ethical dimensions of silence. In the following sections, you will explore practical applications, timing strategies, and psychological insights that allow deliberate silence to function effectively in real-world scenarios. You will learn how to balance presence and speech, calm and anticipation, observation and action, and most importantly, you will discover how this skill transforms not only how others perceive you, but how you perceive yourself. Silence is not empty, it is dense, it is not passive, it is intentional, it is not weak, It is profoundly strong. And as you move forward, you will learn to wield this strength with discipline, ethical clarity, and subtle authority. The mechanics of silence in interaction. Silence is more than the absence of words. It is a force that operates at the intersection of perception, emotion, and cognition. To wield it effectively, one must understand its mechanics, not in the abstract, but in real, observable interactions. Consider silence as a kind of communication. Infrastructure. It carries meaning, shapes dynamics, and directs attention, not all without uttering a single word. The first principle is awareness. You cannot use silence strategically if you are unaware of the context in which it occurs. Awareness involves observing emotional undercurrents, social cues, and relational dynamics. A pause can convey calm in one scenario and confusion in another. A measured quiet before answering. A question signals thoughtfulness. A pause during conflict can de-escalate tension, but silence without awareness risks misinterpretation. It can appear disengaged, distant, or indifferent. Mastery begins with the ability to read the room, the conversation, and the emotional state of everyone involved. Timing is the second principle. Silence is not merely a gap. It is punctuation. Just as a sentence loses clarity, without pauses, human interactions lose meaning. When speech is continuous and unmeasured, a well-timed pause can amplify the importance of what follows. It can compel reflection, highlight contrast, or create anticipation. Conversely, poorly timed silence can stall progress, generate uncertainty, or frustrate the listener. The mechanics of timing involve observation, judgment, and patience, a triad that demands discipline but rewards influence. The third principle is resonance. Silence resonates because humans naturally seek to fill voids. When words stop, minds start. Reflection intensifies, and the listener begins to internalize the interaction differently. This resonance is subtle but measurable. The person speaking may slow their speech, reconsider their phrasing, or reveal unspoken thoughts. Here again, ethical restraint is crucial. You are not using silence to manipulate. You are creating an environment where insight and clarity are more likely to emerge. Silence enhances awareness, both for yourself and for those you engage with. Emotional control is the fourth principle. Silence is most effective when rooted in calm composure. If quiet arises from irritation, fear, or uncertainty, it communicates tension rather than authority. The deliberate practitioner monitors internal states, resisting the instinct to react impulsively. By regulating emotions internally, one projects stability externally. Others perceive this as calm competence, a subtle but compelling form of influence. Silence, in this sense, is not absence. It is presence intensified, distilled through restraint and observation. The fifth principle involves selective engagement. For not every moment benefits from silence. Speaking, asking questions, or clarifying at the right time strengthens influence. Silence without strategic application risks disengagement. The expert balances presence with restraint, contributing only when the impact of speech will be amplified by prior quiet. This selective engagement is not avoidance, it is optimization. It ensures that words carry weight, that attention remains focused, and that outcomes are more likely to align with thoughtful objectives rather than impulsive reactions. Consider conflict as an example. In heated discussions, most people react immediately, often escalating tension. The silent practitioner observes, allowing the other party to articulate fully. When the moment is right, the response is measured, precise, and deliberate. It is heard not as reaction, but as intervention. Emotional intensity subsides, clarity emerges, and the interaction is guided toward resolution. Silence, in this context, is an instrument for ethical influence. It directs without coercion, shapes without manipulation, and stabilizes without aggression. The psychological underpinnings of silence are profound. Humans are wired to assign significance to what is absent. Speech that follows. Stillness is perceived as more deliberate, more thoughtful, more valuable. This is not magic, it is pattern recognition. The brain interprets measured quiet as a signal that thought preceded action. In many scenarios, this enhances credibility and authority. Words gain traction because they are framed by silence, not lost in the noise of constant expression. Social dynamics further amplify the effect. In group settings, the one who refrains from immediate contribution is often observed more closely. Others instinctively notice restraint. The individual who speaks only after observing patterns, listening fully, and evaluating context projects insight. This projection is ethical authority. It arises from comprehension, not dominance, from awareness, not coercion. Silence, therefore, serves as a magnifier of perception. It allows you to be noticed, not for volume, but for clarity and poise. There is also a subtle interplay between silence and trust. When someone listens fully without interruption, they signal respect and attention. Others feel valued. They experience comprehension rather than judgment. Silence, in this sense, functions as an ethical amplifier of relational trust. It is not about withholding information to gain advantage. It is about creating a communicative environment where all parties can reflect, process, and respond thoughtfully. Practical application requires flexibility. Silence is not static. It must adapt to context, personality, and purpose. A pause in a professional negotiation differs from silence in a personal conversation. The internal calibration differs, the timing differs, and the expected response differs. The skilled practitioner observes these variables, adjusting the depth, duration, and placement of silence to maximize clarity and minimize misinterpretation. This adaptability is a hallmark of mastery. It is a recognition that silence, like speech, has nuances, rhythms, and relational consequences. Consider the internal mechanics. While external silence is observable, but internal silence, the mental pause before responding, is equally important. Many errors arise not from what is said, but from the lack of internal processing. By training oneself to pause mentally, before acting or speaking, one aligns thought, emotion, and expression. This alignment enhances consistency, reduces impulsivity, and strengthens perception. External silence becomes a reflection of internal discipline, creating a coherent presence that communicates reliability and composure. The relationship between silence and observation cannot be overstated. Observation is not passive. It is an active process of registering verbal and non-verbal cues, emotional states, and behavioral patterns. Silence enhances observation because it allows for uninterrupted data collection. The person who remains quiet notices shifts in tone, micro-expressions, and posture and timing. They detect patterns that casual listeners miss. They interpret subtleties that would otherwise remain invisible. Through disciplined silence, observation transforms from passive perception to strategic awareness, ethically applied. One critical application is in negotiation. The instinct to fill gaps with words can lead to premature concessions, over-explaining, or losing leverage unintentionally. Deliberate silence creates cognitive space for the other party to reflect, often clarifying their position or revealing priorities. The silence does not force disclosure. It encourages transparency, because human minds tend to fill the empty space. In this context, silence is both ethical and effective. It respects autonomy while fostering clarity. Another dimension is teaching and mentoring. Silence allows learners to process information, internalize guidance, and develop independent insight. The instructor, who immediately answers every question, deprives others of the opportunity to think critically. The one who listens, asks precise prompts, and then pauses creates an environment where understanding deepens. Silence in education or mentorship is an enabler. It empowers reflection, reinforces accountability, and encourages self-directed growth. Emotional intelligence intersects deeply with silence. The ability to withhold speech in moments of provocation, tension, or uncertainty demonstrates self-regulation. Others perceive this as maturity and reliability. Emotional intelligence enhances the effectiveness of silence because the quiet is interpreted through a lens of composure rather than fear, frustration, or avoidance. The ethical practitioner leverages this perception to foster understanding, reduce conflict, and maintain relational integrity. Even in creative processes, silence is transformative. In brainstorming, problem-solving, or strategic planning, moments of pause allow for synthesis and insight. The quiet is not empty, it is productive. Ideas emerge more clearly when not immediately buried under a torrent of words. Reflection in stillness often produces solutions, more innovative and resilient than hasty verbalization. Silence, therefore, is both a cognitive and communicative asset, a dual engine of clarity and influence. Finally, the mastery of silence is iterative. It is cultivated through observation, practice, and reflection. Each interaction provides feedback. When silence communicates presence, insight, or composure, its value becomes apparent. When misapplied, it offers lessons on timing, perception, or emotional calibration. Over time, the practitioner develops a nuanced understanding of when to speak, when to pause, and how to modulate silence to achieve ethical clarity and influence. In essence, Section 2 introduces the operational mechanics: awareness, timing, resonance, emotional control, selective engagement, observation, and internal processing. These components create the framework for silence as an ethical instrument of influence and perception. Silence is no longer a passive absence. It becomes an active strategy for clarity, attention, and disciplined presence. As you integrate these principles, you will begin to notice subtle shifts in interactions. People respond differently, conversations carry more depth, but decisions emerge with greater thoughtfulness. Your presence becomes more pronounced, not because of volume, but because of density. Silence, when applied, deliberately resonates as strength, calm, and ethical authority. Mastery is not achieved overnight. It is cultivated through patience, reflection, and iterative practice. Each interaction offers an opportunity to refine timing, adjust engagement, and enhance observation. The art lies in the combination of restraint and responsiveness, in the alignment of internal discipline with external presence. Silence becomes more than a tool. It becomes an extension of strategic awareness, emotional intelligence, and relational integrity. By the end of this section, you should perceive silence not as a void, but as a dynamic force. It is ethical, intentional, and impactful. It is not about control, it is about clarity. It is not about dominance, it is about presence. And it is through this presence, communicated silently yet profoundly, that influence becomes natural, authentic, and respected. Silence as a tool for influence and presence. Silence carries weight because it is counterintuitive. In a world where constant speech is expected, the absence of words stands out. It is rare, and rarity creates attention. Consider a room full of people, each trying to assert themselves through volume and immediacy. In that environment, the one who speaks sparingly, who listens with intent, who times responses with precision, immediately draws focus, not because they interrupt or dominate, but because they exist differently. They create presence through restraint, influence through observation, and authority through composure. The ethical foundation of this influence is essential. Silence does not seek to coerce or manipulate. It operates within the framework of respect, fairness, and awareness. It invites reflection rather than forces compliance. Influence achieved through silence is subtle but durable, because it relies on attention and perception, not fear or pressure. When employed ethically, silence fosters understanding, encourages thoughtful communication, and amplifies credibility. The first dimension of influence through silence is emotional calibration. When someone speaks, our initial reaction is often instinctive. Words may provoke anxiety, irritation, or excitement. Most people respond immediately, feeding into the emotional currents of the conversation. The individual who practices deliberate silence, however, interrupts this cycle not with confrontation, but with measured pause. The momentary stillness allows emotions to settle, both internally and externally. The effect is profound. Tension decreases, judgment improves, and the interaction moves from impulsive reaction to thoughtful engagement. Silence becomes a stabilizing force, transforming chaotic exchanges into deliberate dialogue. Observation intensifies when silence is applied strategically. Human communication is far more than words. It is tone, gesture, posture, micro-expression, and rhythm. The quieter you are, the more you can perceive. The small hesitation before a word, the subtle shift in gaze, the microfacial expression, they all reveal information about intent, focus, and emotional state. Most people miss these signals because they are too busy reacting. Silence opens space to notice patterns, understand context, and engage with greater clarity. It is not manipulation, it is heightened awareness applied ethically. Influence through silence also relies on selective engagement. Not every pause carries meaning, nor does every word require delivery. The mastery lies in contributing precisely when impact is maximized. A well-timed statement after deliberate stillness carries more authority than rapid-fire responses. It is not about withholding for power's sake, it is about ensuring that presence and speech align with clarity and intention. Each word becomes weighted, each observation more meaningful. This selective application is central to ethical influence. Consider negotiation. Many negotiations fail because participants fill gaps with speech before processing information. Concessions are made prematurely. Positions are over-explained. Opportunities are lost in a flood of words. Deliberate silence creates cognitive space for reflection, increasing the likelihood of thoughtful disclosure. It encourages the other party to articulate priorities more clearly, consider alternatives more carefully, and evaluate trade-offs more consciously. Silence is not coercive, it is facilitative. It enhances clarity, encourages transparency, and fosters mutual understanding. The psychological effect is subtle but measurable. Silence interrupts automatic cognitive patterns. Humans naturally seek closure and interpretation. When faced with stillness, the mind engages in internal dialogue. It assesses, reflects, and often recalibrates. So the silent individual does not impose outcomes. They allow cognitive processes to unfold naturally. In doing so, influence is achieved not through force, but through the ethical shaping of space for thought, reflection, and decision-making. Social perception plays a critical role. In group interactions, those who interject impulsively are noticed for volume, but those who contribute with intention are remembered for depth. Silence draws attention because it breaks expectation. People notice restraint because it signals composure, intelligence, and confidence. The ethical silent practitioner becomes an anchor of awareness, a reference point against which others measure their own responses. Authority emerges organically from calm presence, not from domination or intimidation. Emotional intelligence and silence are deeply intertwined. Consider situations where frustration rises or debate becomes heated. Most people respond reactively, heightening tension. Silence allows one to observe emotional currents without escalation. The quiet practitioner can calibrate response, timing, and tone in ways that diffuse intensity rather than inflame it. This is influence at its most ethical, shaping interactions, not through pressure, but through awareness, composure, and timing. The internal dimension of silence is equally important. Effective use of pause requires mental discipline. One must resist the instinct to react, evaluate alternatives, and align internal response with external presence. This alignment enhances consistency, strengthens credibility, and fosters a perception of reliability. People naturally trust those who appear thoughtful, measured, and present, qualities amplified by ethical silence. Silence is also a lens for reflection. When others speak, their words are more likely to resonate if not drowned in immediate counterspeech. Listening attentively, absorbing nuances and waiting before responding allows the content to settle internally. Reflection enhances comprehension and amplifies the effectiveness of subsequent contributions. Silence, in this sense, functions as both a mirror and a magnifier. It allows perception to deepen and expression to gain precision. In leadership, silence becomes a tool of ethical influence. Leaders are often judged by what they do not say, as much as by what they do. Immediate reactions can signal impulsivity. Measured pauses communicate thoughtfulness. Selective speech signals discernment. Teams notice intuitively or explicitly in the composure of a leader who speaks after reflection rather than in reaction to emotion. Influence arises because presence is aligned with perception. Authority emerges without coercion. The ethical practitioner understands the difference between oppressive silence and intentional silence. Oppressive silence alienates, it isolates, and induces anxiety. Intentional silence illuminates, it clarifies, stabilizes, and fosters understanding. The distinction is subtle but critical. Silence becomes a tool of constructive influence when deployed, with ethical awareness, self-regulation, and respect for the other party's autonomy. Silence also functions as a relational amplifier. Consider personal relationships, interrupting less, listening more, and contributing selectively enhances connection. Others feel acknowledged and respected. Conversations become more meaningful, emotions more regulated, and mutual understanding more likely. Silence, in relational contexts, is an ethical instrument that reinforces trust, empathy, and accountability. In complex negotiations or high-stakes interactions, silence allows cognitive processing to unfold naturally. The other party fills gaps, revisits positions, and clarifies priorities, not because they are forced, but because the environment allows reflection. Words delivered after this reflection carry more weight. Impact is amplified ethically because it is aligned with understanding rather than imposed pressure. Even in conflict resolution, silence is transformative. Immediate responses often escalate tension. Deliberate pause enables observation of emotional currents, detection of underlying needs, and strategic choice of timing and phrasing. Silence, in these moments, communicates control without hostility, presence without aggression. Ethical influence emerges not through domination, but through careful calibration of interaction dynamics. Practically, mastering silence involves 3 steps: observation, calibration, and measured engagement. Observe the emotional and cognitive climate, calibrate internal responses, aligning emotion, thought, and intention. Engage when impact is maximized, ensuring that contributions carry weight. This cyclical process reinforces ethical influence, enhances presence, and improves clarity of communication. Silence also enhances self-mastery. Each pause is an opportunity to reflect internally, to monitor emotions, to evaluate assumptions, and to align action with intention. Over time, a deliberate silence strengthens discipline, reduces impulsivity, and cultivates resilience. The individual who masters this form of quiet presence is not only more effective externally, but also more composed internally. Even minor applications accumulate. Pausing. Before responding to an email, listening attentively. In meetings, allowing reflective space in conversations, all reinforce presence. Words spoken after reflection carry more credibility. Decisions made after observation are more likely to be clear and deliberate. Influence is subtle, ethical, and cumulative. Through ethical silence, one discovers a new dimension of communication, the interplay between presence, perception, and reflection. The individual who masters this skill operates not by dictating outcomes, but by creating conditions where clarity, understanding, and mutual insight are more likely to emerge. Influence becomes natural, durable, and ethically grounded. Silence is not emptiness. It is an active instrument for presence, attention, and insight. It is rooted in self-discipline, ethical awareness, and emotional intelligence. Applied strategically, it enhances influence, stabilizes emotion, and amplifies credibility. The ethical silent practitioner does not seek control, only clarity, does not impose, only illuminates, does not dominate, only guides with presence. By the end of Section 3, the listener begins to perceive silence as an ethical instrument of influence, a tool for presence, and a mechanism for deeper perception. It is not a shortcut, a trick, or manipulation. It is a cultivated skill built on discipline, observation, and timing. How it amplifies influence. Because it leverages natural, human, cognitive, and emotional processes ethically aligned. Silence is a lens, a stabilizer, and a communicator. It is subtle, profound, and enduring. And as mastery develops, the ethical silent practitioner becomes someone whose presence speaks volumes, whose words carry weight, and whose influence flows naturally from composure, clarity, and observation. Strategic application of silence in everyday life. Silence is not an abstract concept. It is a practical tool, one that can be integrated into daily interactions with intention and awareness. To wield it effectively, one must consider context, purpose, and timing. Silence applied thoughtfully can enhance relationships, improve decision-making, and elevate perception in ways that words alone often cannot. We begin with the most fundamental aspect, listening. Active, undistracted. Listening is inherently tied to silence. Most people listen to respond, not to understand. They formulate answers, while the other person speaks, missing subtle cues and emotional undertones. The silent practitioner, however, listens with full attention. Their internal dialogue is restrained. Their focus is on observation, on comprehension, on absorbing nuance. This form of silence is not empty, it is dense with awareness. It allows the practitioner to perceive patterns, emotional states, and relational dynamics that might otherwise go unnoticed. Silence is particularly effective in conflict. In arguments, the natural instinct is to respond immediately, to defend, justify, or counterattack. But immediate speech often escalates tension. Strategic silence, in contrast, provides a pause. It signals composure, allows emotions to settle, and gives all parties space to reflect. By withholding immediate reaction, the silent practitioner reduces the likelihood of impulsive escalation. This is not avoidance, it is ethical intervention. The pause becomes a stabilizing force, allowing clarity to emerge from chaos. Negotiation offers another clear application. Many negotiations falter because participants rush to fill conversational gaps. Concessions are made prematurely, positions are over-explained, opportunities are missed. Deliberate silence shifts the dynamic. By allowing pauses after a question or statement, the other party is given space to clarify priorities, reveal underlying concerns, and reconsider options. So the silent participant does not force disclosure, they create conditions where reflection is more likely. Silence, in this context, becomes an ethical lever. It facilitates insight without coercion. Even in casual social interactions, silence can enhance presence. Consider a dinner table conversation where multiple voices compete for attention. Speaking impulsively or excessively risks being lost in the noise. By speaking selectively after careful observation, one draws attention. Naturally, presence is established not by volume, but by discernment. Others perceive the silent participant as thoughtful, composed, and aware. Their contributions carry more weight because they are measured, precise, and aligned with context. In leadership, silence can be a subtle but powerful tool. Leaders who rush to fill every gap, respond immediately to every question, or interject constantly risk undermining credibility. In contrast, a leader who listens fully, evaluates context, and speaks only when impact is maximized, projects authority ethically. Their presence becomes an anchor for teams, signaling calm, strategic thinking, and composure. Words gain weight because they follow reflection, not reaction. Influence is amplified, not by volume, but by clarity and intentionality. Professional communication, including emails, meetings, and presentations, also benefits from silence. Pausing before responding to an email allows one to consider tone, clarity, and content. During meetings, strategic pauses before interjecting enable observation of group dynamics and identification of priorities. Silence, in these professional contexts, enhances accuracy, increases impact, and fosters perception of competence and reliability. The ethical practitioner does not manipulate. They simply allow clarity and focus to guide the interaction. Silence is equally transformative in personal relationships. Listening without interruption, refraining from immediate judgment, and allowing reflection fosters trust and understanding. People feel heard when there is room to speak, pause, and process. Silence communicates attention, respect, and care. It reduces conflict, enhances empathy, and strengthens relational bonds. Ethical silence is not a weapon, it is a bridge to deeper connection. Even in creative problem-solving, silence serves a practical purpose. Brainstorming, planning, and ideation often benefit from moments of quiet. Continuous verbalization can overwhelm cognitive processing. Pauses allow ideas to crystallize, perspectives to align, and insights to emerge. Silence becomes a cognitive tool, enhancing clarity, focus, and originality. The practitioner learns to integrate reflection into action, creating outcomes that are both thoughtful and effective. Another critical application is internal dialogue. Silence is not only external, it is internal. Pausing mentally before responding allows alignment of thought, emotion, and intention. It strengthens consistency, reduces impulsivity, and enhances ethical decision-making. The silent practitioner cultivates internal stillness, which translates into deliberate, composed, external presence. This alignment improves influence without coercion, fostering trust and credibility. Timing is a recurring theme. Effective silence requires not only restraint, but also discernment. Our pauses must be calibrated according to context, emotional intensity, conversational flow, and relational dynamics. A pause too short risks losing impact. A pause too long risks miscommunication. Mastery involves observing reactions, adjusting duration, and maintaining awareness of timing. Ethical silence is responsive, not rigid. It is dynamic, not passive. Silence also affects perception. Profoundly, humans assign significance to absence, words that follow. Deliberate quiet are often interpreted as more thoughtful, credible, and influential. This effect is amplified in group settings, high-stakes negotiations, and leadership contexts. Presence becomes more pronounced because it contrasts with the continuous noise around it. The practitioner's silence magnifies the meaning of subsequent speech, enhancing influence ethically. Ethical boundaries are essential. Silence should not be used to confuse, manipulate, or dominate. It must be grounded in respect, fairness, and clarity. The objective is not to coerce, but to create conditions where communication, reflection, and understanding are more likely to occur. Influence is a byproduct of presence, observation, and ethical application of silence, not a tool for exploitation. The iterative nature of mastery must also be emphasized. Silence is a skill, cultivated through practice, observation, and reflection. Each interaction provides feedback. Moments where silence enhances understanding or clarity reinforce its value. Moments where it is misinterpreted offer lessons on timing, emotional calibration, and contextual sensitivity. Mastery emerges through consistent, deliberate application over time. But consider the interplay between silence and nonverbal cues. Body language, facial expression, and gesture gain prominence when words are withheld. Silence amplifies these signals, allowing them to convey meaning with subtlety and precision. The ethical practitioner is aware of this interplay, aligning external cues with internal composure to enhance perception without coercion. Strategically, silence also serves as a reset mechanism. In high-pressure conversations, it allows for recalibration of emotional tone, assessment of objectives, and refinement of responses. It prevents impulsive reactions, reduces tension, and creates space for reflection. Over time, the ability to pause strategically enhances decision-making, relational effectiveness, and leadership presence. Even in routine interactions, silence is transformative. Art listening. Fully in everyday conversations, pausing before interjecting and allowing thought to settle before responding enhances comprehension and relational perception. Words spoken after reflection carry weight and precision. Silence is cumulative. Repeated application strengthens perception, builds trust, and fosters ethical influence across contexts. Finally, silence fosters self-awareness. Each deliberate pause invites reflection on emotion, thought, and intention. This internal calibration improves consistency, reduces reactive behavior, and reinforces ethical presence. The practitioner becomes someone whose influence arises naturally from alignment of internal and external states, calm, disciplined, and ethically grounded. By the end of Section 4, the listener should understand that silence is a practical tool, applicable in daily life, professional settings, relationships, and personal reflection. It is ethical, intentional, and influential. Words are enhanced by silence, presence is amplified by stillness, and influence emerges from alignment, awareness, and disciplined observation. Silence is a lens, a stabilizer, and a communicator. It is subtle, profound, and enduring. It is not about control, it is about clarity, not about coercion, but about ethical influence. And as mastery develops, silence becomes a cornerstone of presence, perception, and interaction. Silence in leadership, negotiation, and high-stakes situations. Silence is rarely neutral. In leadership, negotiation, and high-stakes interactions, the absence of words communicates as clearly as speech, sometimes more so. Yet few recognize its subtle power. On those who master silence understand that influence is not always exerted through words or authority. It is exerted through presence, observation, and timing. Consider leadership. Many leaders mistake activity for effectiveness. They speak frequently, respond immediately, and assert authority through constant verbal engagement. Yet influence is rarely proportional to volume. The leader who listens more than they speak, who interjects only when contribution will carry weight, demonstrates a composure that is naturally compelling. Silence allows them to absorb the full dynamics of a situation, notice nuances, and respond strategically rather than impulsively. The impact of measured words in this context is magnified precisely because of the surrounding quiet. Leadership, silence is not passive, it is active observation. Why? It communicates confidence, discernment, and self-discipline. Teams notice it intuitively. A leader who pauses before responding signals that reflection precedes action. Decisions feel considered rather than reactive. Authority emerges without aggression, and influence grows because others perceive alignment between thought, presence, and action. In this way, silence becomes a cornerstone of ethical leadership. Negotiation is another domain where silence holds exceptional utility. Conventional advice often emphasizes speaking persuasively, articulating positions clearly, and asserting demands with certainty. Yet excessive speech can obscure priorities, reveal vulnerabilities, or provoke resistance. The deliberate pause, silence, creates cognitive space for reflection. The other party is more likely to reconsider their position, to articulate hidden needs, or adjust expectations. The silent negotiator does not force disclosure. They provide the environment in which insight naturally emerges. Influence arises ethically through strategic observation, timing, and measured communication. High-stakes situations amplify the effects of silence. When emotions run high, decisions are urgent, and stakes are significant, impulsive speech can lead to miscalculations, missed opportunities, and unintended consequences. Silence provides the critical buffer, allowing observation, evaluation, and mental calibration. Ethical application of silence ensures that responses are intentional, measured, and aligned with objectives. The silent practitioner transforms pressure into clarity, tension into insight, and uncertainty into disciplined awareness. Silence also strengthens credibility. In high-stakes contexts, those who rush to speak frequently may appear reactive or insecure. Those who maintain deliberate stillness convey stability. Observers interpret measured speech as confidence rooted in comprehension, not in volume. Words delivered after reflection. Carry authority precisely because they follow. Pause. Ethical influence is amplified when others perceive thoughtfulness and composure rather than impulsivity. Observation during silence is amplified in these environments. Micro-expressions, tonal shifts, and subtle gestures become more noticeable. The silent practitioner detects deviations between stated intentions and unspoken cues. They perceive alignment, hesitation, or confidence and adjust their approach accordingly. Again, this is not manipulation. It is refined awareness applied with ethical intention. Presence is enhanced and influence emerges naturally. From observation rather than coercion, emotional regulation is critical. In high-pressure settings, the instinct is often to react. Quickly assert dominance or fill gaps with speech. The silent practitioner exercises restraint, maintaining composure and ethical presence. This control shapes perception. Others recognize calm competence, even amid intensity. Influence emerges because the environment responds to stability rather than volatility. The ethical use of silence transforms tension into clarity, fear into insight, and impulsivity into deliberation. Ethical boundaries remain central. Silence is not a tool for intimidation or manipulation. It is a tool for clarity, observation, and an intentional presence. In negotiation, leadership, or high-stakes discussion, the goal is not control, but mutual understanding. Influence arises from alignment, insight, and timing, not from pressure, coercion, or subversion. The silent practitioner maintains these boundaries, ensuring that ethical influence is consistently applied. Silence can also facilitate reflection in others. In negotiations, people often speak to fill gaps, revealing priorities, or making concessions they might not have otherwise articulated. Silence provides the opportunity for reflection, allowing others to consider perspectives more consciously. Influence is thus not imposed, it emerges naturally, through conditions conducive to thought and clarity. This is influence grounded in ethics, not manipulation. The interplay between silence and timing is central. A pause. Before responding, strategically placed, signals thoughtfulness. A pause. After someone else's statement, communicates attention and consideration. The duration of silence matters. Too brief and impact is lost. Too long and misinterpretation arises. Mastery involves calibration, adjusting silence to context, emotional intensity, and desired outcome. Timing is as critical as the decision to remain silent in the first place. Strategic. Silence also enhances perception of authority in groups. In team discussions or public forums, those who speak after observation are noticed more than those who speak first. Their words carry weight because they are delivered with precision, clarity, and context awareness. Others naturally defer to presence, informed by awareness. Influence flows because silence amplifies significance, not because it coerces compliance. High stakes. Decisions often benefit from reflective silence. During critical moments, immediate reactions can introduce error, misalignment, or miscommunication. Pausing allows consideration of options, evaluation of risks, and alignment of intention. Words spoken afterward carry greater clarity, resonance, and impact. Ethical influence is achieved through observation, deliberation, and measured contribution rather than through force or urgency. Silence also fosters resilience in high-pressure contexts. The ability to maintain composure, observe fully, and act deliberately under stress, strengthens cognitive and emotional endurance. Practitioners develop self-regulation, enhancing both internal clarity and external perception. Influence emerges organically. Because calm presence commands attention and respect, the silent practitioner becomes a stabilizing anchor amid volatility. Even in everyday leadership, silence improves decision-making and communication. Leaders who resist the urge to react immediately notice patterns, anticipate consequences, and align strategy with goals. Their communication carries intentionality. Their influence is ethical, durable, and respected. Silence is not avoidance. It is the disciplined orchestration of observation, presence, and contribution. In negotiation, silence can reset dynamics. When conversations stall, emotions spike, or positions harden, a well-timed pause can diffuse tension, invite reflection, and encourage thoughtful articulation. The silent negotiator creates space without coercion. Influence arises not from volume or insistence, but from clarity, presence, and observation. Ethical application ensures that mutual understanding is prioritized over advantage-seeking. High-stakes interactions also highlight the importance of internal alignment. Silence is effective when internal state, emotion, thought, and intention is coherent with external presence. Impulsive or distracted, silence conveys confusion, frustration, or disinterest. Aligned silence communicates calm, authority, and awareness. Influence is amplified because perception aligns with reality. Ethical mastery of silence is both internal and external. Composure reflects comprehension, and restraint reflects discipline. The cumulative effect of silence is profound. In leadership, it improves credibility. In negotiation, it enhances clarity. In conflict, it stabilizes tension. In social interactions, it amplifies presence. Across all contexts, ethical silence increases the likelihood that communication is thoughtful, influence is earned, and decisions are considered. Its power is subtle but enduring, grounded not in manipulation but in disciplined awareness. Even brief applications matter. Pausing before responding to a colleague, taking a moment to consider a partner's perspective, or allowing reflection in a team discussion reinforces influence ethically. Words delivered after reflection carry authority. Presence cultivated through silence conveys competence. Relationships, negotiations, and leadership interactions all benefit from deliberate stillness. Mastery is iterative. Each experience offers feedback. Moments where silence clarifies, diffuses, or amplifies reveal its value. Moments where silence is misinterpreted offer lessons in timing, duration, and alignment. Over time, practitioners develop intuition about when to speak, when to pause, and how to integrate silence ethically into high-stakes situations. The skill becomes a natural extension of composure, awareness, and ethical influence. In summary, Section 5 demonstrates how silence functions in leadership, negotiation, and high-pressure scenarios. It provides the practitioner with ethical influence, enhanced perception, and strategic awareness. Silence is not passive. It is a deliberate tool for presence, observation, and clarity. Applied consistently, it strengthens relationships, improves outcomes, and amplifies credibility without coercion. Through ethical, deliberate silence, the practitioner gains not only influence but also resilience, composure, and clarity. Influence emerges not from words alone, but from the alignment of presence, observation, and timing. Silence becomes the ethical conduit through which authority, insight, and trust are amplified naturally, sustainably, and powerfully. Integrating silence into identity and mastery. By now, the patterns are clear. Silence is not merely the absence of speech. It is an extension of awareness, discipline, and ethical influence. To fully leverage its power, one must integrate it into identity, habit, and approach to interaction. Silence is most effective when it is not just applied externally but internalized as a way of being. The first step in integration is self-concept. Who you are is reflected not only in your words but in your presence. If you identify as reactive, impulsive, or hurried, silence will feel awkward, unnatural, and difficult to maintain. By cultivating an internal identity aligned with composure, observation, and deliberation, silence becomes a natural extension of thought and presence. The practitioner does not pause to gain power, they pause because reflection, awareness, and clarity are part of who they are. This alignment between identity and action amplifies influence ethically. Habit formation is the next layer. Silence is cultivated through consistent practice. In daily life, begin with small pauses before responding. In conversations, extend reflection before email responses. Notice micro-moments. In meetings where stillness can enhance comprehension or impact. Each deliberate pause strengthens mental discipline, emotional regulation, and the capacity to influence ethically. Over time, and these small practices accumulate into a stable skill set that is effortless yet profoundly effective. Observation remains central. Integration requires ongoing attention to context, tone, and relational dynamics. When internalized, silence is not a rigid rule. It is responsive, adaptive, and perceptive. The ethical practitioner notices subtle shifts in group dynamics, emotional states, and conversational rhythms. They adjust duration, intensity, and timing of silence accordingly. Presence becomes both flexible and anchored, flexible enough to adapt, anchored enough to maintain clarity and composure. Emotional mastery deepens integration. Silence cannot function effectively if it is reactive or emotionally driven. The individual must develop the capacity to notice internal states without immediately acting upon them. Impulse control is not merely about restraint, it is about alignment. Words and actions should reflect observation, intention, and ethical purpose. Through this alignment, silence becomes a vehicle for both internal stability and external clarity. Incorporating silence into identity also transforms perception. People notice those who do not rush to speak, who allow others space, who contribute selectively. Silence signals presence, awareness, and composure. Influence emerges naturally because perception aligns with internal reality. Words gain impact because they follow reflection, not reaction. Ethical mastery of silence enhances credibility, reinforces trust, and deepens relational influence. Integration requires contextual awareness. Silence functions differently. In professional settings, personal relationships, deep and high-pressure negotiations. Each environment demands calibration, length of pause, timing, and responsiveness. Practitioners develop an intuitive sense of context through repeated practice, learning to align silence with the social, emotional, and cognitive climate. Ethical application is always guided by clarity, respect, and awareness rather than intent to dominate. A critical dimension of integration is reflective practice. After interactions, review moments, where silence enhanced clarity, attention, or perception. Consider moments where silence was misapplied, misinterpreted, or ineffective. These reflections strengthen skill, inform timing, and reinforce alignment between intention and impact. Through iterative reflection, silence evolves from a technique into a stable, internalized skill. Silence also reinforces accountability. Look, the more we integrate reflection into our interactions, the more aware we become of our intentions, actions, and impact. Deliberate pauses cultivate awareness of the ethical dimension of influence. We begin to notice how words, even well-intentioned, affect others. This awareness nurtures responsibility, empathy, and ethical growth. Silence is a mirror, not just for observation of others, but for self-examination and improvement. Application in leadership becomes seamless. A leader who has internalized silence approaches decision-making, team dynamics, and communication with composure and clarity. Their presence communicates authority without intimidation. Their words carry weight because they are measured, intentional, and contextually precise. Influence becomes durable because it is rooted in ethical alignment, awareness, and reflection. Rather than coercion or reaction, negotiation similarly benefits from integration. The silent practitioner naturally observes, adapts, and responds without pressure or urgency. Pauses are intuitive, responsive to relational dynamics, and ethically applied. Influence emerges because clarity, timing, and observation converge. The negotiator's presence communicates competence, reliability, and composure. The other party is more likely to engage thoughtfully, reconsider priorities, and reveal intentions voluntarily. Influence arises ethically and naturally, not through force or manipulation. High-stakes situations are transformed as well. Integration ensures that even under pressure, silence is aligned with internal composure. The practitioner maintains awareness, calibrates responses, and projects stability. Emotional regulation prevents impulsivity, enhances perception, and improves decision-making. Influence is sustained because presence is consistent, intentional, and ethical, even amid intensity. Silence also strengthens relationships. Internalizing the practice allows the practitioner to listen, fully contribute thoughtfully, and foster understanding. Moments of pause communicate attention, care, and consideration. Over time, relationships deepen because interactions are shaped by reflection and presence rather than impulsivity or habitual noise. Ethical influence is reinforced by the consistent projection of attentiveness and composure. Identity integration amplifies all dimensions of silence. It is no longer a tool to be applied consciously. In every interaction, it becomes a natural extension of thought, perception, and intention. Habit, reflection, and alignment transforms silence into a reliable vehicle for ethical influence. Words are used strategically, presence is maintained consistently, and perception is shaped subtly but profoundly. Influence becomes a natural consequence of being, not a tactic to deploy selectively. The ethical dimension remains central. Integrated silence is never used to manipulate, coerce, or dominate. It is a framework for clarity, observation, and responsible influence. The practitioner respects autonomy, prioritizes understanding, and aligns presence with intention. Influence arises from perception, not pressure. Insight, not force. Awareness, not coercion. This ethical framework is the foundation of sustainable mastery. Even creativity benefits from integrated silence. Moments of reflection, observation, and pause enhance ideation to problem-solving and strategic insight. The internalized practice of stillness allows patterns to emerge, connections to be made, and solutions to crystallize. Silence becomes a cognitive amplifier, supporting both clarity of thought and ethical application of influence. Integration also facilitates resilience. Life and work are filled with uncertainty, stress, and unpredictability. The silent practitioner, aligned, internally and externally, maintains composure. Decisions are deliberate rather than reactive. Presence is steady rather than scattered. influence is sustained not because of force, but because stability, awareness, and ethical application are consistently projected. Finally, integration creates a cumulative advantage. Each moment of deliberate silence strengthens internal discipline, heightens observation, and refines ethical influence. Over time, the practitioner becomes a person whose presence, words, and actions are aligned with clarity, composure, and ethical perception. Influence flows naturally, relationships are deepened, and interactions carry weight without coercion. Silence is no longer a tool, it is a dimension of identity. By the end of Section 6, the listener should understand that silence, when integrated into identity, transforms not just interactions but perception, influence, and personal discipline. It is internalized, habitual, and ethically aligned. Words carry weight because they follow reflection. Presence is noticed because it is deliberate. Influence emerges naturally because awareness, timing, and composure are consistent. Silence becomes a defining feature of character. It enhances perception, stabilizes emotion, and strengthens influence ethically. Through integration, mastery moves from technique to identity, from strategy to natural behavior, from conscious effort to effortless presence. Ethical, deliberate, and internalized, silence evolves into a profound instrument of clarity, awareness, and impact. It is in this state that silence reaches its highest potential, not as absence, but as presence, not as reaction, but as reflection, not as a tool to control, but as a dimension of being that communicates authority, clarity, and ethical influence without coercion. Mastery of silence becomes a defining quality, subtle, powerful, and enduring. The lasting power of silence. Silence is often misunderstood. To many it appears as emptiness, hesitation, or weakness. Yet those who have learned its language know that silence is a force, subtle yet profound. It shapes perception, amplifies presence, and fosters understanding. It is an instrument not of domination, but of clarity, not of manipulation, but of reflection, not of absence, but of presence. As you close this journey, consider what silence has revealed. It is not a trick to be applied selectively. It is not a shield for avoidance. Silence is a practice, a discipline, and ultimately a way of being. It communicates without words. It signals awareness without force. It allows understanding to emerge where constant speech might drown it. When integrated, silence becomes inseparable. From character, it is as much a part of how you think as it is how you act. The value of silence is amplified when aligned with observation. Listening, fully noticing subtle cues, and reflecting before responding transforms interactions. Words spoken after. Careful reflection carry weight, credibility, and clarity. Presence becomes noticeable, not because of volume, but because of stillness. Others recognize the calm authority that arises naturally from someone who observes, pauses, and acts with intention. Influence flows because clarity resonates ethically without coercion. Patience is the silent partner of mastery. Silence cannot be forced, and its effects are rarely immediate. Those who rush to wield it will miss its subtle power. Its impact unfolds over time, gradually, cumulatively, invisibly at first. Yet those who persist, who cultivate the discipline to pause, observe, and act with intention, discover that silence strengthens perception, deepens understanding, and enhances ethical influence. And in a world of noise, stillness stands out. Ethical application is paramount. Silence is most powerful when it respects autonomy, fosters understanding, and aligns with integrity. It is not a weapon to coerce or a tool to manipulate. Its strength arises from the combination of awareness, emotional regulation, and intentional timing. Each pause, each reflective moment, each measured response is an opportunity to act with thoughtfulness, to communicate with clarity, and to influence ethically. Presence becomes authority, words gain weight, relationships deepen. Integration into daily life transforms silence from a tool into a habit, pausing before responding in conversation, allowing reflection before speaking in meetings or taking time to consider decisions before acting. These are small exercises that, over time, cultivate mastery. The repeated practice of deliberate silence strengthens mental discipline, heightens emotional intelligence, and amplifies influence. Influence emerges naturally because perception and presence align. Words are intentional, action is deliberate, silence becomes identity. In relationships, silence is a conduit of understanding, listening without interruption, allowing space for reflection, and speaking with intention fosters trust, empathy, and connection. Others feel heard and respected. Conflict is less likely to escalate. Misunderstandings are reduced. Presence, rather than volume, defines the interaction. Silence creates the conditions where understanding and insight are more likely to flourish. Ethical influence is achieved through attention, reflection, and measured contribution. In professional contexts, silence strengthens credibility. Leaders who observe before responding, negotiators who pause to allow reflection, teams who create space for thoughtful discourse. These individuals are noticed for composure, clarity, and insight. Words gain significance because they are measured. Decisions are more deliberate, interactions more effective. Presence is both ethical and influential because it is aligned with awareness, timing, and observation. Silence also fosters self-mastery. Each pause is an opportunity to reflect on thought, emotion, and intention. Impulsivity is reduced, comprehension is increased, and alignment between internal and external states is strengthened. Mastery of silence is, in essence, mastery of oneself. Influence flows not from coercion but from the consistent projection of calm, clarity, and ethical awareness. Time presence becomes both stabilizing and compelling. Even in high-stakes or high-pressure situations, silence remains a tool for clarity rather than control. By pausing strategically, observing, and aligning responses, with both awareness and intention, one maintains composure, evaluates options, and communicates effectively. Influence emerges from perception, trust, and ethical presence, rather than from urgency or force. The practitioner becomes an anchor guiding interactions with clarity and integrity. Reflection is the final element of mastery. Silence, when internalized, is both an external and internal practice. Each moment of stillness provides feedback. What worked, what was misinterpreted, and how awareness can be refined. The process is iterative, cumulative, and subtle. A mastery is not a single moment. It is a continuum of disciplined practice, observation, reflection, and alignment. Each pause deepens insight. Each measured response reinforces presence. Each ethical application strengthens credibility. Ultimately, silence is a language that communicates presence, perception, and intention. Those who understand it speak less, yet convey more. They influence ethically, act intentionally, and maintain composure. Their words gain resonance because they emerge from reflection. Their presence commands attention, not through volume, but through consistency, awareness, and ethical alignment. Silence becomes the defining element of their communication, their influence, and their identity. As this journey concludes, consider how you might integrate silence into your own life. Begin with small. Deliberate pauses, listen fully before responding, reflect before acting, observe patterns both in yourself and in others, align internal states with external expression. Ethical influence emerges from this alignment. Clarity follows reflection. Presence becomes intentional. Words gain weight. Relationships deepen. Influence flows naturally. Silence is subtle, yet its effects are profound. It stabilizes emotion, clarifies thought, and amplifies ethical influence. It fosters understanding, strengthens credibility, and enhances perception. Applied consistently, it transforms interactions, decisions, and relationships. And most importantly, it becomes an extension of identity, an ethical, deliberate, and powerful dimension of being. Carry this with you. Silence is not absence. It is presence. It is not weakness. It is restraint, awareness, and an ethical influence. It is not emptiness. It is the space where understanding, clarity, and insight emerge. Mastery of silence is not a technique, it is a way of being. It shapes perception, communicates integrity, and amplifies influence ethically. As you move forward, remember that silence is a companion, not a strategy to be exploited. Its power is subtle, cumulative, and ethical. Its practice strengthens awareness, enhances composure, and amplifies clarity. It teaches patience, encourages reflection, and fosters trust. Silence, when internalized and applied, consistently becomes a defining feature of presence, influence, and ethical mastery. The art of weaponized silence is not about controlling others. It is about controlling the space you occupy, the way you perceive, and the manner in which you engage. It is about enhancing thought, deepening presence, and fostering understanding. It is about influence rooted in ethics, clarity, and reflection. Words gain resonance because they are delivered with consideration. Presence communicates authority because it is aligned with awareness. Influence is achieved naturally, sustainably, and ethically. Carry this principle forward. The quieter you become, the more you can observe. The more you observe, the more you understand. The more you understand, the more effective your presence becomes. Ethical influence is not imposed, it emerges from alignment, awareness, and deliberate practice. Silence becomes your instrument, your lens, and your foundation. Its mastery is both subtle and profound, internal and external, ethical and enduring. In closing, silence is the ultimate amplifier of clarity, perception, and ethical influence. It is a practice, a discipline, and a dimension of identity. Its mastery transforms presence, words, and relationships. Its ethical application enhances trust, deepens understanding, and fosters reflection. Silence is not absence, it is power distilled, presence intensified, and influence applied with integrity. Master silence. Let it shape your presence, refine your thought, and amplify your ethical influence. Carry it into every interaction, every decision, and every relationship. In silence, clarity emerges. In stillness, authority is perceived. In restraint, influence flourishes. This is the art of weaponized silence, subtle, disciplined, ethical, and enduring.